Hello again and happy and blessed Monday afternoon from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. Here is the 25th installment in my video series entitled Ex-Adventist Testimonies. Another American Christian woman and a former Seventh-day Adventist shares her testimony on the former Adventist Fellowship's website. She was born the first child of a newly baptized legalistic perfectionist mother and an unbelieving father who smoked and drank. At the Adventist church and schools, she was terrified of the last day events and time of trouble and felt that she could never be good enough to go to heaven. Her view of God was that he was stern and harsh and was keeping track of all her sins, and if there was one unconfessed sin when she died or when the time of trouble came, she would miss out on heaven. What a heavy load to carry for a child or an adult. No wonder they are called Sadventists. She dreamed of marrying a man who was studying for the ministry and seemed to know the Bible and spirit of prophecy and could quote passages and seemed to answer any religious question that was asked. And then she did find such a man. Shortly after they got married, however, she had a rude awakening when she realized that he was extremely controlling and moody and had an enormous amount of anger and rage. Because she did not believe in divorce, she stayed with him and tried to pretend to family and friends that all was well. They did have 3 children. He never physically abused her, but verbally and emotionally he did. And that abuse left deep scars. In 1977, a couple from Andrews University held a marriage enrichment seminar in Collegedale, where they lived. And even though her husband was very reluctant about going, he did finally agree to attend. And that weekend was the beginning of her new life. That couple were very spiritual and yet the husband, who was a doctor of theology, probably gave a lot of food for thought about the inconsistencies in Adventism. And she saw God in a way she had never seen him before during that weekend. It also seemed to renew their marriage for a time. And she got the training to conduct seminars. She became very obsessed with spirituality and read Ellen White books as never before, and became a crusader in opposition to the new theology that was threatening to split the Adventist church. Well, many other splits have occurred in the Protestant Christendom. Her husband was very reluctant to be involved in their new church. He was still very traditional and legalistic. His work in the medical field kept him from attending church on most Sabbaths, so she became very involved. It was very refreshing to have music that was alive and enthusiastic, and the skits were really timely. The pastor and some of his friends who were involved since the church's beginning had all been to Willow Creek and were patterning this church after the methods they had learned there. And this happened around 1991. Their marriage, however, was continuing to deteriorate, and being in therapy helped her to realize that in order to survive, she had to leave this marriage. Shortly after getting divorced, she moved to a city or town in North Carolina, where her daughter had already moved a short time before. And she found a church in another city or town, similar to the one that she had left in Tennessee. There were still many nagging questions about Adventism and what she really believed. And then she went to Willow Creek and realized that these thousands of people from other countries and other churches loved God, and there was a definite presence of the Holy Spirit during the training session that they attended. She noticed that the Adventists tended to stay in their comfort zone of being with Adventists primarily instead of mingling and sharing with other Christians who have so much to teach us about love, forgiveness, and acceptance. Shortly after returning from Willow Creek, she made a very difficult decision to climb out of the box and not look back. This was more difficult in many ways than leaving her marriage. She sobbed all the way home the day she left the Adventist church and knew she wouldn't be returning. At the time of writing this testimony, she had already been a former Adventist for 5 years. And her spiritual journey had brought some wonderful, helpful people into her life. She had attended some other denominations at first, but then realized that organized religion would not be the path that she had chosen for her spiritual development. And all she had to do was open up the box and walk away.